ready?
What do you think?
I'd heard rumors that you'd survived.
Lord Rosfield, I've been looking for you for a very long time.
I'll tear you apart with my bare hands!
Try it.
Now die! You're not the only one who's seen their world fall apart around them.
I thought I was ready for this.
I know, but we will face it together.
With a talker.
Let's shut him up.
I am a shield of Rosaria, and I will do my duty. Come on, Ifrit. Show us your true power.
I'm so excited for this because if you had told me about 20 years ago that I'd have the opportunity to sit down and talk Final Fantasy with some of the cast, I would have thought you were crazy, but here we are. Please welcome David Menkin and Anthony Howell. Thank you so much for joining me and talking Final Fantasy. What a game. What a game. It was, I had a blast from start to finish, and it has to do with, I mean, obviously the story is incredible, but it's how you guys all brought the characters to life. So, I mean, first and foremost, it starts with the casting, and they knocked it out of the park with the selection process of all of you guys. So definitely congratulations are in order for everybody, but I mean, you guys are on the show, so more so for you guys. So, first question, I mean, this is something you probably always get asked. Did you know it was Final Fantasy, or was there a code, like a code name for it, or like how did this whole process start, and when did it start?
And go for it.
No, well, I think you started much earlier than I did. So you start, and I'll.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I thought it was 2018, but it's actually 2019. I had finished a small role in Final Fantasy 14 Endbringers, and then I was called in, and they asked me to. And I didn't know that it was Square Enix. I didn't know anything. It was the same studio that we recorded at in London. And I came in and I had to do these sort of wide-ranging monologues. And they sort of wanted me to find a lot of depth and a lot of emotional range as well. So I went for it. And then suddenly they were like, we're going to be sending you a PDF link. It is very, very confidential. We will be sending you a password separately. And then I opened it up thinking that it was going to be for like a recall or a callback. And it was the script for Final Fantasy.
That's incredible.
And it was hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of pages. And unlike Ben Starr, who was a huge Final Fantasy fan, before this, he freaked out. I did not know this because, of course, we weren't allowed to know that we were in the same game together. But he had like a meltdown, bless him. And I was like, okay, well, here we go, and just launched into it. But then as I was doing the sessions more and more, that's when I started to freak out, and I was going, well, I wonder when I'm going to get fired. I wonder if it's this week or if it's next week, and it just didn't happen. But yeah, I was sort of part of the inner sanctum. We had a separate buzzer on when we came to the studio even. So that was how sort of confidential and secret squirrel it was.
Wow. Hey, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, that's fun.
So then,
I was
Anthony,
by myself. I was
Yeah,
by myself, so yeah, so I couldn't share it with anyone. So
Yeah,
yeah, I was like, well, this is fun for me.
yeah,
Yeah. But sorry, I
yeah.
interrupted you.
no, I was just gonna say now it's your turn, Anthony. The spotlight's on you.
Yeah, I think I came later. To be honest, I can't remember the exact year. These years come and go. I know some of it was during the pandemic. But yeah, I was completely in the dark as to what it was. It was obviously at the same studio. And I think I must have sent in a demo and came in and worked with Ollie and Morgan. And yeah, I just thought it was another game. And then towards the end of it, I remember sort of Ollie saying, "This is going to be big, by the way." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's nice."
Lots
Yes.
of there's lots of talk of game of the year like nominations and for voice acting.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the initial announcement for the game, when I think they showed it 2 years ago as kind of a teaser, and then they did it at a state of play that Sony had put on. I wasn't worried because I know that the whole dynamic of role-playing games has shifted into more of an action style game. Earlier examples are Xenoblade Chronicles. Like it's still turn-based, but exactly. That's how I want to talk about that too. But it's still kind of turn-based, whereas Final Fantasy 16, even I don't know if you've played or seen Strangers of Paradise. It's more of an action RPG. It's a Final Fantasy game, but so for me, it went away from the whole JRPG aspect. But as soon as I played I think the demo hooked everybody, and there was like everything about that demo just resonated, and I was like, okay, now I got to wait a couple more months to play the actual game. And as soon as I put it in, I want to say I had it beat within a week. I just did not stop. And
Wow.
I'm doing the second playthrough now because I mean I might have missed something. I mean it's a vast world. So I obviously I want the ultimate weapon. So to
Right. So
make
you're going for
to
platinum 100%. Yeah,
I
you're
don't typically platinum once I've usually when if I've played a game after I'm done the first time I'm done, but there's just something that draws and a lot of my friends said the same thing. They beat it and there's just something that draws them back to playing Final Fantasy 16. And it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad that I was wrong because like if I see a game that doesn't really interest me, I not necessarily write it off. I'll try it out, but yeah, I'm glad I was wrong. And like I said, that demo just that final scene with where like that emotional range that Ben did, where he's like blacking
spoiler
out.
alert, spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
spoil. Yeah, well, not really. I'm not. Yeah, sort of a spoiler alert, but like that, I was like, God, this is something special. And yeah, it was a great game, and again, it's all the emotion that you guys all put into that role. Actually, Anthony, I like when you're introduced to Cyril, I didn't know it was you. Like I didn't see the announcement that you had made, and then like that was your role, and I said, "Oh, it sounds so familiar," but it's not that antagonistic calling somebody out that you're known for with Margit and Elias in Diablo 4. And then as soon as I saw the announcement that it was you, I was like, oh, okay, that's where I know that voice from. So, but did you this is for both of you as well, did you have any input in what the characters were to sound like, or did your casting director or voice director say it's got to sound like this?
Well, for Cyril, yeah, it came from the voice direction from Ollie and Morgan. They had an idea of and also they have such an overview of the game that you come in with ideas, as we all do, whether we are auditioning or whether we're doing a game, based on sort of a limited amount of information. You might get a graphic of what the character looks like. You might get an idea, a brief tagline of their characteristics, their vocal range. But pretty much all of it comes from, it's a collaboration, but it comes from working with the voice director. They're your key into the world. They're your guide. They're your reference. They give you pretty much everything that you just can't find yourself from just the lines. They give you the context. They give you, the pretty much all the information you need.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we had an amazing team working with us. We had the guys from Schlock, Morgan and Ollie. We had Hannah Price, who was our voice director, and then we had Koji, who came over from Japan, and then during lockdown, of course, had to then be up working with us in the middle of the night from his little drum room. Bless him. And it was amazing. The thing that I sort of insisted on, because I mean, you listen to people like Ant, and you just go, Jesus, there's all this chocolate down at the bottom there, and it's just this beautiful sounds happening. And with me, I am one of those people that can go high and can go low, and what people kind of can get addicted to is that, especially for sort of antagonist characters, that they have to sit very, very low in their range. And I, from the beginning, was just very, very insistent on the fact that somebody who is as old as Barnabas has sort of moved on beyond sort of the toxic masculinity aspect of like everything has to be down there at all times. No, there is melody. There has to be light and shade in order for him. Barnabas likes to talk a lot, and I was like, if he's going to be talking this much, there has to be, you have to ride the roller coaster a little bit. And they were very, very nice and let me go there with it, because I just did not want to go for this sort of very typical bad guy character.
So kind of the opposite of what you voiced as Malos, whereas like he just wanted complete destruction. It's more like, Barnabas wanted that, but there was a reasoning behind it, whereas it was just like for in Xenoblade Chronicles, it's like it's just all malice. Like I don't care. Like let's just end it.
Exactly. And so Malos is the ultimate Chad, but with him as well, I think I came in. I think most people that they were having coming in for the audition, they were all talking like this all the time, and it's just like, no, Malos, he's up here, boy. He just gets to because he's just I don't know what the age range of your podcast is here, but he's got his cock out at all times, as far as I'm concerned.
You're good. You're good.
Exactly. Good. Okay. And then and with Barnabas, he just sort of leads with, Malos was leading with his hips, and and Barnabas is very much leading with his shoulders and his head. There's thought behind everything, and with Malos, it was just very, very much instinct. So you had mentioned, Anthony, that a lot of this was done during the pandemic. Were there any sessions of voice recording, like David? I know I'd seen a previous interview where you were by yourself, but were you ever recording with anybody else, or was it strictly just in your own recording studio? And then just listening to the lines being fed to you. I know a lot of games were like that during the pandemic, but I wasn't sure how much of 16 took place after the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, we were still recording right up until early this year, I think. Certainly right up at the end of last year and
October.
Wow.
Remember we had the rap party in October, was it?
Yes.
And then there may have been pickups though.
I think there were. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I still had more to do right up until Christmas of last year.
Man.
maybe I'm wrong. The pandemic really
Oh.
screwed with my
Yeah.
my timeline. But I mean, with the because of the nature of voice recording, we're often in the booth on our own anyway. So that wasn't particularly different. The only thing that affected the recording were the governmental kind of restrictions that were put in place at certain points. And I mean, the studio that we recorded it at, they were great. We disinfected the booths in between sessions. They allowed a greater amount of time between changeovers. I would cycle to the studio to minimize any kind of contact with other people. So it was it within the limits of the law, we were still able to function as we pretty much do anyway. Just the engineers or the engineer plus the directors in one room, you in another, and everything's kind of sealed and soundproof.
I mean, they would seriously, they would disinfect the room and leave it for 10 minutes. And at certain points, all the way in the beginning, when they just started up, they would have microphones set up at different levels so that they didn't even need to come in and adjust anything. And then you sort of just had to sort of find the one that was closest to you. And they would put like special guards on the pop shield, special guards on your headphones. It was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It's amazing what we managed to do.
Yeah, it's. I worked for a car rental company during the whole pandemic, so I know exactly what you're saying about everything was being disinfected and couldn't touch the vehicle for 10 minutes. It had to sit and let everything. And now you look back on it and you're just like, I won't get into it too much, but yeah. So the characters of both Barnabas and Cyril, Anthony, I always saw Cyril as kind of, I'm going to use a Star Wars analogy, kind of like an Obi-Wan, like he's setting them off on the path of discovery. Personally, I don't feel like that you were given enough time to flesh out. I know that there's only certain quests that your character gave, but it would have been really cool to see more of that dynamic, because that whole organization, like putting lives above everything else, was very interesting to me. And who knows, maybe some future DLC, if they do it like Final Fantasy 15, you'll have a chance to go back to that organization where it's just a mystery on like all these people and on the beliefs, and you being the, I guess, de facto leader. But yeah, it would be really cool to see some kind of. Did either of you play Final Fantasy 15, like where they had those episodes afterwards where like they had the main villain, he had his own story and all that stuff? But I would love to see some backstory on Barnabas as some kind of episode story. It doesn't have to be necessarily long, but just so that people like myself can say, oh, I see why he wanted to go that way. Like, did he start off as a carefree protagonist that was slowly turned by no spoilers, but you know what I'm saying? Was he slowly twisted into this overseeing character? So I would love to see more of you guys return for some kind of episodic thing, but they kind of hinted at DLC. We'll see, but, and I know obviously if you are attached to something, you can't say, but it would be pretty cool to see that kind of aspect where you get the spotlight a little bit more. But yeah,
well, I'm available. So.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
me too.
I do have to ask, and I don't know if this is something that's being planned or if you can't say, but of all of the summons that you see in the game, the only one that you don't is Leviathan the Lost. Now, there's a lot of fan theories that are out there that say that the little medicine girl that you encounter throughout the game is Leviathan. But have you heard any of these theories, or are we going into something that we shouldn't be talking about? Or
all I can say is that I get asked a lot of questions on Twitter, but with those questions coming in, red lasers start appearing on my forehead.
All I
And
can say is
so
I can't see. I
yes,
respect that.
and I have stepped into doo-doo a few times, and of course, as soon as I have my opinion on something, suddenly it's lore and it's canon, and um, I get a terse email from a marketing executive at a games production company that goes, "Well, thank you very, very much for now you know saying something that you had no business putting your nose into." So
I respect that. That's like, but that one is the main theory that I've been reading a lot of is about that. But
I have read it.
where
Yes.
so where did you both get the inspiration to, like, obviously there's a script that's written for your characters, but where did you draw inspiration to act out those roles? Like, did you draw from anywhere, or um how did you envision the characters besides the writing?
Please.
No, over to you, David.
Oh, fine. I feel like I talk a lot.
No.
I well, what was great was they explained the Scandinavian aspect of Barnabas, and the fact that they were, they didn't quite explain the Game of Thrones aspect of things. It as soon as they allowed themselves to put a name to it, you sort of did understand very quickly. But it was the fact that they wanted Barnabas and Benedicta and other characters to be from somewhere different to this world, so that there was threat there. There was something from the outside threatening, and of course mystery, and therefore hiring me, hiring Nina, hiring Gunnar, then that then inspired a lot of actors in the game to then copy sort of our style of speaking, and we then created a kingdom, really, and of course an area an area beyond the map as well, because of course Barnabas, I don't think it's too spoilery to say that he arrives on the shores of Ash. And then goes from just sort of washing up pretty much on a beach, and then very, very quickly taking over the entire kingdom. And by saying that, therefore, what that helped me do was realize that there was a layer of unpredictability in the character. It meant that I had surprise on my side. I also got to have an economy of emotion, because I was always sort of hiding. Well, in some ways, this is very complicated because I'm trying not to give away
For
too much
sure.
stuff, but in one way, allowing myself to sort of hide my hand, but as the game progresses, you realize that I'm showing my hand throughout.
Mhm.
So there's this, and it was a wonderful. What it did was it set a real, very specific framework for what my character was and how they wanted him to be, and then within that, I could play, and that's what I love. I love being told, this is what we want. You get to color within all those lines, and you get to do whatever you want within that. And that was sort of my aim. And I think we got there. So that's sort of my long-winded answer to, yes, I had input.
Spotlight's on you now, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, Cyril wasn't around nearly as much, obviously. So there wasn't as intense a focus on Cyril in terms of the backstory and everything that on from day one, because of the nature of the way it's cast and recorded, and the element of secrecy. I came in with very little knowledge on day one, and so with the voice directors, we kind of found Cyril as a sort of almost not in reverse, but trying the voice, just trying to find his voice first, and trying to find that the calmness and the wisdom and but also the strength, and so finding that vocally first, and that was really a collaboration with Ollie and Morgan, the voice direction team, of trying things. So it was very much going in not blind, but going in without a set of things that I already had to kind of bring in, and then we sort of discovered it through doing it, through trying it, and having great guidance from the voice team.
Yeah.
And again, it's for me, I had the text, that was it really, and obviously the context that was given to me in any particular sequence. So there wasn't as much as David's just described for Cyril, just because I guess the positioning of the character within the game, and he's perhaps not as complex or complicated within the narrative, and therefore in that sort of performative way, he's a lot kind of simpler and quiet and thoughtful, maybe.
Well, which is a vast departure. I mean, obviously in Vampire you were an anti-hero, but did it feel strange voicing? I guess Cyril, he's still technically a good guy, but with his own mode of sending them on. But I mean, predominantly your roles, from what I've played, are villainous characters. So was it a contrast playing a neutral character this time around, or was it pretty much just I'm the good guy this time?
It was different, which is lovely, and I'm sure David agrees that whenever you get something that's different to either the last thing you play, or certainly the things that you normally get cast, if you get something cast as something else, it's really interesting, and that challenge is great. I mean, Fortuno in FF14 was similar in the vocal range. I think he was calm. He wasn't a vampire or a beast or a alien or whatever it was. So there was something similar there. But yes, it was lovely finding that, sort of paring it down to a more simple kind of delivery, I think, and using a different register, because that's what I love about voice work, is the ability to embody such different characters visually through your voice, whether it's by going deeper or lighter or whatever it is, just because with your face you're stuck with it. This is how I get cast, in theater and TV. I get cast because of how I look, but with voice work you get cast potentially on how different you can sound or how you can fit a particular thing. I do have quite a deep voice, so it does lend itself to kind of monsters and villains, but I really enjoyed Cyril. I like that change. Yeah.
But we have this thing. It is quite normal for us as voice actors in games to come in with absolutely no pre-knowledge of the character and having to make a very, very specific decision about the character from the very moment, and then learning about the character as you go. And there's like a theatrical tradition of not really knowing your character until you put the shoes on. And that's kind of the thing that we do. We come in and we sort of just go, okay, I'm going to try those shoes. I'm going to try this. that's something that happens very often, because this industry is ridiculously secretive, because they don't want their ideas, they don't want their stories, they don't want their gameplay stolen or copied until it's out. So we have that issue. And what's great is that these companies know that there are people like Ant who are, first of all, like the nicest. You are one of the nicest people I think I've ever met in my entire life, and then you can play such absolute assholes is great. And I'm there with you. I'm not a very nice person, but I do play a lot of assholes too. So
that's not true, by the way.
But we are these people that can come in and sort of just go, all right, what does he look like? Work with the voice directors, find something, and as soon as it sort of starts to click, everyone knows. The audio engineer knows, the directors know, the producers know, and you kind of know as well, I think.
So this is more of like a what if scenario. So say Barnabas was to meet Malos, who would win in a fight?
Oh man,
putting you on the spot.
Zanatsuken versus Monado. Oh wow.
Whatever answer you choose is the franchise you're going with. Just remember that.
And this is the thing. This is going to get lifted and then used against
I can edit this part out.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that they would be very evenly matched.
I see that scenario playing out, that it's like they start battling each other, and then they realize that nobody can touch them if they're on the same team, and then that's it. It's like,
yeah, and then I think they snog and then they go have a beer. I think that's the kind of thing. I think
yeah.
That's a good answer. That's a very neutral answer.
It's like, yeah,
you're still in the middle.
Yes.
You're not on the Final Fantasy side. You're not on the Xenoblade side. So
yes, but I do think that Barnabas is someone who has not been in touch with his emotions for a very, very, very long time, while Malos is locked in his. And I do think that sometimes you find yourself, if you get lost in your emotions, you don't necessarily get a chance to think ahead. So I'm not saying that Barney would win. I'm saying that Malos would probably make some mistakes before he got his shit together.
Well, and that's exactly it. Is while Barnabas is taunting Clive, it's not emotionless, but he doesn't really, even at the very end, he doesn't really get angry. Like, I mean, you see the emotion, but whereas you have other villains like Malos, it's like he's going insanely crazy as Rex is dominating him at the end of the game. Spoiler for who haven't played from 2017, but you don't really see that from Barnabas. And again,
his passion is reawakened.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And if you can't say that Malos is passionless. So
no, he's just they're driven. Their causes are different. But yeah, he's more of the like crazy, angry person, whereas Barnabas is just like, you can't beat me. It's just like that arrogance.
Exactly. One of them wants to see the world burn. One knows that that the only way for life to continue is for the world to burn. So that's as far as I'm concerned. Oh God. Hi internet. Hi 3 months from now.
Yeah, so I gotta ask, and this is not even really, this doesn't have anything to do with Final Fantasy, but tell me, I was very intrigued by Slaystation. Like I thought that was really a really cool event. Like, so how does that come about? Like, I know before we got on, you guys were saying that for events you have to do the get-togethers yourself. Like, was that organized by
Yes.
anybody, or was that you guys saying, "Hey, let's just"?
Ben.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, Ben organized it, and I'm pulling it up now so that I can tell you exactly who. So Velvet Caveat is an amazing drag queen and an amazing entrepreneur, and is very I'm sorry, I don't know their pronouns. I'm just going to refer to them as them, but they are very aware of the fact that they are in their 20s and are creating this amazing space for people who have maybe felt that like they've never fit in, but are sort of finding their kindred. And it is a night. It is a drag night. It's a show night, and it is based. Each night is based in one game's sort of, I guess, one style of game. So it was the Final Fantasy was the crystal ball, and every single part of the show involved something from the Final Fantasy canon. And I think that there's something else coming. I am trying to find out what the other ones were, but it's insane. And they do a monthly comedy night, and they do drag brunches, and anyway, it's oh no, that's Clapham Grant, but Slaystation, I forget how often they do it, but it is absolutely amazing. Just look up Slaystation, and well done on the name, by the way.
Yeah, it's
and also
very,
check
very
out
good.
Velvet Caveat on Instagram and Twitter. It's seriously, and then they did best costume, best cosplay, and the work that people have put into to this night is insane. And
Well,
I'm
and
so thrilled we got to go. Sorry.
that's the one thing. So like a couple of my friends and I, we organize a convention up in Canada, and it's really about bringing the community out. Like you see a lot of introverts that come that would never go to these types of events, because they can express themselves, they can dress up as Barnabas, as Cyril, as anything, and there's no judgment. And like we've always had that element with our shows, and it's the cosplay aspect has become more important for us, because you want to see the kids coming out and having a good time, and not necessarily staying at home playing video games. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because that's that's what I do when I'm off. I play games and learn about the characters and stuff. And but it's great to see these events taking place, because it makes people feel more comfortable with themselves. So the fact that you guys are participating and stuff like that, and saying, like, it's okay, it's a really cool thing to see. So it's even if you're just attending it, you're not necessarily an organizer, but you're there, and it makes people realize, like, I can go out and do stuff like this. That's really, really cool to see. So you definitely deserve a lot of praise for that.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, we just turned up and engaged and signed some. People brought their actual physical games, and we signed them and stuff. And it was really lovely to see what this franchise means to a lot of people.
Mhm.
So I don't feel that I don't deserve any praise whatsoever. I will just turn up, because this was one of the best nights out I'd had in ages.
Yeah.
Will you be appearing at any conventions coming around? Like I know before we did the podcast, I don't try to ask the same questions that everybody else asks, just because you hear it all the time. But I had seen, I was watching the KupoCon, I guess it was the one of the launch. And I know there's one that's going on in Toronto, and I know that Ben
Yep.
is taking part in that. But are you guys going to be making any appearances at anything coming up, or? Is that something you can't talk about?
We're currently sorting out some stuff at the moment. And I will be most likely appearing in something in the new year. I won't be at Toronto. I think that's Nina and Ben. But the thing that I can say to your listeners and your viewers is that if you want the actors to come to cons, let people know. It is because we have representation for these events. We will be we turn up when people want us to be there.
Yeah, 100%. And that's so a lot of organizers don't know how to get in contact. Like, if I didn't do this podcast, I wouldn't initially have the connection to talk with you or Anthony to say, how do we get you guys out to the show or anything like that. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of shows not necessarily falter on. It's just they don't know how to get the representation to get you guys out to shows. And having guests, regardless of how people feel about guests, you guys bring the people. So it's like, we've got Final Fantasy, the cast from Final Fantasy 16 coming out. Okay, I'm there. But it's just, it's and even from my perspective, like we've only just started doing guest bookings, and I didn't know how to get in contact with any agency. It was just through reaching out to you guys on Instagram, which has made it for better or for worse. It's accessible to speak with you guys, and then it's like, okay, well, this is agent from XYZ, send them a message. And
yeah,
but if you don't ask the questions, you don't know. But
that's the thing. There's people with a lot less experience and a lot less and smaller events who have no qualms getting in touch. And it's interesting how you sort of almost censor yourself, and you're like, is it right for me to do that, to do this? Well, the thing is that there are people who are like, it's my birthday next month, do you want to come? And you just go, okay, well, here's Thanks. My agent's details, and feel free to do that. I don't know you personally, therefore this has to be a business transaction, but
yeah.
But yeah, it's
well, that's why, like, Anthony, I had asked you if you were on Cameo, because like, so I have a friend that I do the show with, and we chatted with Anthony last summer, and he's a huge Elden Ring fan. So I sent Anthony a message. I said, is there any way that you could do a video as Margit, basically calling him out for getting married? So he did it, and I put some Elden Ring music into it, and I sent it to him, and just going on about how much that 30-second clip meant to him. So yeah, it was he actually wanted me to ask you, Anthony, how your garden is going.
It's good. It's kind of settling down for autumn now. So, spring, summer tends to be when it's a little bit more interesting, but it's still in good shape. There's still a few flowers hanging on in there.
Brad, it is Versailles. It is one of the most beautiful spaces I've ever been in. I wanted to move in. It was insane. Your place, Anthony. Oh my God.
Yeah, so he's definitely going to want to see pictures, because they've been working really hard around their house, and I don't know if they've posted anything on their place, but he spent almost the entire summer doing his whole outside, everything, driveway, planting. Like it looks phenomenal. So you'll have to compare garden pictures with each other.
Yeah, I'd love to see what he's done. Yeah.
And then Anthony's place will shit on it, unfortunately. I'm sorry to say.
It's the life of an actor, because we spend a lot of time on our own, and I spend it in the garden. So I get the opportunity to garden, and I love it, and I enjoy it. It kind of, I don't know, it's just nice being with green things and crawling things and nature.
Sounds very, very Margety of you.
Yeah.
So I always ask this as well. Do you have any advice for anybody who is looking to get into voice acting or acting in general? Anthony, I think we had asked you this as well, but a year later, year wiser, what advice do you give to people who want to get into this line of work?
I'm going to take notes.
No, I was going to say, David, please, because David I've seen so many amazing talks David has given on so many different subjects with Jane as well, Jane Perry, who you know.
Lovely,
I'm going to
lovely woman.
Definitely take notes on what David says.
Fine. All right, fine. Very, very quickly, find out what sets you apart. Make sure that you're actually talented. Every single time I speak to a taxi driver while I'm on my way somewhere, they will tell me that their family or their friends said that they had a great voice, and that they should do this, and should they get into it. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. But the thing is that your investment is huge in order to get into this. I'm sitting inside a home booth with a very expensive microphone. It doesn't have to. The thing is, to get started these days, it's not the same. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You can get a USB mic. You can watch a YouTube video on how to create a dead, quiet space for yourself to do the stuff, and then you get to practice. And you get to send it out to your friends and family, and then maybe some professionals, and you have to ask for real feedback and see if this is something that they think that you might be good at. If that's the case, well, then you need to find out what sets you apart from everybody else, because everyone's doing this. This is one of the most oversubscribed industries on earth. We're all fighting for, as you can see from the strikes that are happening, and with AI taking jobs. It is an amazing tool. Before your commenters say that, stuff, but it is an amazing tool that is being misused by a lot of people. That's what sets you apart. So therefore, what you need is your uniqueness to get you in the door, so that you get to show off the fact that you're talented. And after that, you have to be awesome. You have to be available. You have to be professional. You have to take direction really, really well. And there's all these things that happen, and you cook it all down, and then you are a professional voice actor or voice artist. And that's when you find out, am I able to hold on for the jobs to start coming in before I have to go back and do another job? Because the final thing here is time. Do you have the time to invest? I know I sound very, very negative in a certain way. It is, what I'm saying is that it is not something. There's 0.1% of people that fall into this because of serendipity, but for the most part, this is hard graft done by insanely talented people who deserve work
100%.
but don't get it.
And I guess ultimately also be able to deal with rejection, because they.
What's that?
No, but I mean,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
as a society, with any job, like I work in a hospital, like it's you have to be able to take criticism. You have to be able to take the rejection. If we don't think you're okay for the role, okay, I thank you so much. But we're in that time where everybody, yes, your opinion matters, but if they don't feel you're right for it, that's it. There's no, you don't get a second chance. And I know with when we've speaking with Jane and David Bates and before, you have a or well, if you guys can touch on this as well, basically a sound clip that you send of yourself to producers, and they'll know within the first couple words if you're right for the job. And that's, you have a very small window, and if you don't hit it right off the bat, then you just, it's not that role is not for you, and a lot of people just can't take that. So
Yeah.
it sounds like a fun industry, but at the same time, like you said, there's, you started in 2019 with Final Fantasy 16. Here we are, 2023. And then do you, like, so kind of going off the track here a little bit, during the recording process of, like, are you locked into one game, or can you do small voices for another game while you're doing like Final Fantasy 16? Like, Anthony, I know all of your games all came out around the same time. Like, you had Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, and then like, were those done at different times, or were they within each other?
Yeah, they were all mixed in together, and that's pretty much how it is. I've never heard of anybody having to sign an exclusive
Okay.
for a period of time on a game, but it may happen. But I've never done one, and I've never heard of anybody doing it. Sometimes if you're, so for example, with Vampire, or with, as Ben has done in Final Fantasy, when you're the main character and you have hours and hours and hours of recording, that tends to be all you can do, just physically, because of the time demands that makes. But no, it's not an exclusive contract.
Yeah.
Hopefully it never will be, because
no, we wouldn't be able to survive.
Yeah, exactly.
People think that we're insanely well paid.
Yeah.
The few hours that we get to work on a game, although it goes, we've been working on since 2019, yes, but it's not every day. It's not 9 to 5. It's us going in, working on something, and then they will come back 2 to 3 months later and they'll have written a new section, or will have rewritten the thing that you did because of certain things with the player experience changed, and things like that. That's when we get brought back in, and we might just be changing a couple of sentences. But by that point, everything is locked in time, so therefore you have to be very, very creative in the way that you make it all flow together. So there's all this stuff. But if we had to lock ourselves into one project, I wouldn't be able to eat.
No.
So I'm in Diablo 4. I am a lot of really scared villagers and innkeepers who all the people all the NPCs who should know better. That's the kind of stuff that I've done. And thankfully, thank God, I got to, that was some more bread and butter for me. And I'm not there to show off. I'm there to be part of the world that, and my job isn't to stand out at that point. My job is to go in there and then be an ensemble member, as we call it.
Yeah.
So we worked very, very hard in very, very sporadic moments throughout our time. And that's why Ant has an amazing garden. I'm not going to show you my flower beds. It's been an erratic year. But yeah, we find other ways to make time and money happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Anthony, I know that, and obviously the game hasn't come out, but you were able to share that you're going to be in Lies of P, which I think looks incredible. Is there anything is there anything that you can say about the game, like not necessarily a story, but it has to do with Pinocchio, if I'm not mistaken, or is that okay? Is there anything you can say about it? Because this is really intriguing to me, and I know a lot of my friends have been talking about this game. So it's like a soul style game. Like what's the whole premise of this game?
Yeah, I mean, they have released a sort of a demo version, if I'm correct. I think the official release is on the 16th of September, so just over a couple of weeks. But yes, it's based in a city called Krat, and the ideas are based on the Pinocchio story of a puppeteer and a puppet, and the ideas of bringing a boy to life, or bringing a puppet to life. And then there's obviously, all the situations that are happening in this fictional town of Krat. But a lot of it is already out there. A lot of the gameplay and the characters. As far as I know, they haven't released the casting for the main character, but I think a lot of it's already out there, I think.
Yeah, and that just goes to show how poorly of a gamer I am. Like I knew about the game, but I honestly, there's so many games that are coming out this month that it's actually for the rest of the year that it's very hard to keep track, and there's only so much time in a day to do all that stuff. And it's like, what am I playing today? Like, I mean, there's a very small game coming out in a couple of days called Starfield, and it's an indie title. You probably haven't heard about it, but
So excited.
But yeah, it's just it's the nice thing. Like, yeah, our wallets take a big hit, but to me it's worth it, because you can play games that you might not necessarily have ever thought of playing, and it's a good time of the year. Like this is like gamers Christmas, because this is around the time that like June until December is when all like the really big titles come out. And I mean, Diablo 4 is still going strong, Baldur's Gate 3, all these games. It's just like, when do you have time? Like, are you guys playing anything? Or like, I know, Anthony, you're not really a gamer, but is there anything that you're playing that's caught you?
I am gonna start playing games because I don't think you can work in an industry for this long and not be part of it. And also, I think, what we touched on slightly before about, I now feel part of a community. Mm-hmm. So, myself and David, and there's another lovely actor, Shai Matheson, who's in Lives of P, Jane Perry, Neil Newbon. There are a whole bunch of us, Ben, obviously, and we're friends, and we're now this little community. Mm-hmm. That was sort of brought together by an amazing Julia Hardy, who kind of got us all to kind of get together in a WhatsApp group. And so I kind of feel a lot more part of a community that I want to delve into a bit more. So I'm going to start playing games. And I don't know when that is, but I will let you know. But I'm looking forward to it, because I've seen that, some of the Final Fantasy stuff, and it's unbelievable, and the performances are unbelievable. It's just incredible. So in the same way that as an actor, for theater or screen, we will go to see plays and we will watch movies, not just for our pleasure, but as a part of our, ongoing education. And gaming for me now is definitely needs to be part of my my education. So I will be, and I'm looking forward to playing games like Diablo and FF16, and what's amazing is watching interviews with Ben, for example, because Ben has been a gamer for a long time and is so passionate and so invested and so part of that that life, and that I think is really, I think it's wonderful. And I think a lot of people have made that connection and commented on how incredible it is to see that the star of FF16 is also a gamer and loves playing games. And so I think it is really important. And so I wasn't, maybe I'm a bit too old, but I never grew
You're never
up.
too old. You're never too old for video games ever.
But it wasn't part of my childhood. And I think it's one of those things that you either get into or maybe you don't. But I want to get into it now. So that's, yeah.
David, are you playing anything?
I unfortunately I have been traveling a lot, so I've not been able to touch anything. But I have bought Baldur's Gate 3, and I am such a sci-fi buff. I cannot tell you. So Starfield. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I don't quite know what to do with myself. So so yes, that is I have a feeling Starfield is going to be my next obsession.
Yeah, one of my friends is playing it because he got a review code because he reviews games, and he said he's 60 hours in and he's barely touched anything. So
I mean, I mean 2023 is a shit show of a year, but it is a year for games. Holy shit. We are so lucky. And there's more to come.
Yeah.
So yes. Baldur's Gate 3 and of course I've got to play I've got to find myself in Diablo 4 at some point.
Oh, there I am.
Oh, look. Oh, right. I am scared and lashing out. Oh, excellent. But yeah, it's I'm really lucky. I've now got 2 consoles, and my next purchase is a Steam Deck. So I now count myself as a gamer. I wasn't until lockdown. So
well, I strongly recommend Sea of Stars, and that's one game that Ben has been really pushing.
Yes.
It's an independent game company out of Quebec, and I have it on Game Pass. Phenomenal. That's what I grew up with, was that old school turn-based Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, all those games. So if you get a chance, definitely check it out. But
fantastic. Thank you.
So besides Life of P, is there anything you guys are working on that you can talk about project-wise, or is it all on lockdown?
I wish I could tell you. I'm so excited. You would be. I'm such a tease.
It's all good.
October is going to be a very, very nice month for me. That's all I can say.
That's fine. October is going to be a great month because Spider-Man comes out. So
yes,
but
I am not in Spider-Man.
No, I wasn't in. I haven't pre-ordered. I wanted to get the system, but I already have a PS5, and my wife was like, you don't need another system." I said, "Yeah, but it's red." So, well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to talk everything with me, and I just wish Clayton was here. Clayton likes to ask really out of the box questions. Like nothing bad, but it's just that's his style, is just asking offbeat things. But we'll
do a follow up on Twitter with Clayton. How about that?
Yeah, that's he's on Instagram too. Right. Just chastise him for being at work instead of being on this talking with you two. But where can people find your socials? Like I know, Anthony, you're on Twitter, but are you on Instagram yet?
I am, but not really for work. It's Instagram for me is just I really love architecture. I trained as an architect, so for me Instagram is kind of pictures of buildings, and I don't post, so it would be really boring to follow me on Instagram. But Twitter, I jump on from time to time. I'm not a big social media kind of person, I guess.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, or Elmo's X. I'm at David Menkin there, and I'm also on Instagram. I don't post as much on Instagram, it is it sort of fits and starts with that, but I am there, and I'm just pretty much always on the prowl for impersonator accounts for some reason. Instagram loves to set up an impersonation account for me. I don't know why. I am not important enough. But yeah, it happens sort of every month or two.
That
So.
seems to be the going thing, is like they'll take your name or anyone's name and they'll like add an additional letter into it, and it's like,
yes,
that's not me.
Yeah.
And then they're reaching out saying, hey, I got locked out of my account, can I send you a password? Like,
oh, my last one was, thank you for being such a gracious fan. And
to yourself. you know you've officially made it when you're a fan of yourself and you're messaging.
yes, absolutely. And then I'm gracious, and my friends my friends wrote to me and they went, you've never said anything about using the word gracious, so so is this you? No, this is not me. So but
Perfect.
yes, find me there. I have I have an identity on Threads, but I haven't used it yet.
I don't even know what it is. I keep getting told to use it. I know it has to do with Instagram, but it's just another social media thing that I don't really want to be on. So
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me. It's really appreciated. And when we have more projects that we know that you guys will be in, I definitely get Clayton back on and have you guys back on and talk video games.
Yeah.
Thank you
Lovely
so
chatting
much.
with you.
Have a good one. Thanks everyone for watching.